record on this computer. Okay, we're ready to go. We're recording. So we're gonna finish. This is exciting.
It is.
We start on section 24, and we need a volunteer for the 1, 2, 3, and 4. We could just go around the room, or Jen, you want to do it? You haven't translated lately.
I'm happy to. No problem.
Why don't we do that? That would be fun.
Yeah.
Anam adversum est tamen, eodem plure tempore, fuisse in Hispania juvenem, qui cum sibi multi signis auctoritatem paraviset, eo usque elatus et, ut te helium propter. So
I'm getting an echo.
Somebody needs to.
is it better?
That's better, yes.
Yes.
Was that you, Joanna, muting?
It might have been me not muting, but I think I might have had another window open.
Oh, okay.
Something might have been wrong.
Because you got your headphones in.
Oh, let me see if I have another one. I'm going to close this one.
No, I think you're good.
It's
Okay.
better.
Mm-hmm. It's better.
Is it better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you want me to reread or?
Sure.
No.
However, it was noticed that at about the same time, there was a young man in Spain who, when he had obtained parawiset for comparawiset, he had obtained authority. What's a better word? Influence for himself by means of many signs, which probably means miracles.
Mm-hmm.
He was carried up so far to such an extent that he was proclaiming that he was Elijah.
Mm-hmm.
Quod cum plerique temere credidissent, addit ut se Christum esse diceret. And when a lot of people had rashly believed that he was Elijah, he added that he was saying that he was Christ,
Mm-hmm.
which sounds very repetitive to me.
That's weird. I was wondering if there's any way to take a unexpressed subject for edited. It is
Yeah.
Somebody adds because of the beginning anim adversum est tamen. Like
That's what I was just wondering, whether it means here not he added like personal subject, but whether it's like there was the additional fact that.
yeah.
I mean, because what I wanted it to say was he added that he was, but
Right.
that's not what-
Without the diceret. That has to be him saying that he was Christ.
yeah. So I mean, it could be there was the additional fact that, but it's awkward
weird.
either way. In quo etiam adeo illucit ut eam quidam episcopus Rufus nomine ut Deum adoraret. In which thing he was so convincingly deceptive that that a certain bishop named Rufus adored him as God, prayed to him, worshipped him
Mm-hmm.
as God. Propter quod eum postea ab episcopatu deiectum videmus. And on account of that, we saw him, Rufus, afterwards cast down, like thrown out of his bishopship. What do we call that?
Episcopate.
Plerique etiam ex fratribus nobis rectulerunt, eodem tempore in oriente quendam extitisse, quise Johannem esse iactitaverit, ex quo conjicere possumus, istios modi pseudo prophetis existentibus, antichristi adventum imminere, qui jam in istis mysterium iniquitatis operatur. Also, a bunch of the brothers related to us, me, that at the same time in the East, a certain person existed, was alive, who boasted that he was John, from which we are able to surmise that with pseudo-prophets of the same sort existing, since pseudo-prophets of that sort were existing,
That's all.
that the arrival of the Antichrist was imminent, was hanging over us.
Mhm.
The Antichrist who already was, there was a note on that, carrying on the secret ways of his wickedness. So who already is carrying on the secret ways of his wickedness in those people.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Non praeteriundum autem videtur, quanta Martinum sub istem diebus diabolus arte temptavoret. Moreover, it does not seem that one ought to pass by with what great skill, art, the devil tried Martin, tested Martin,
tempted, yeah.
tempted Martin around the same times, those same days. Quodam enim die, praemissa praese et circumjectus ipse luce purpurea, quo facilius claritate assumpti fulgoris illuderet, veste etiam regia indutus, diademate ex gemmis auroque redimitus, calceis auro illitis, sereno ore, laeta facie, ut nihil minusquam diabolus putaretur, oranti in cellula adstitit. 4. One day, with a shiny purple light having been sent before him, and this is just so terrible because this is not how you use ablative absolutes. This is wrong. It's just bad. His Latin is terrible.
He's so excited.
I know, but it's bad and wrong, and he's certainly not the first person to do it, but it's wrong.
Well, it's not Ciceronian.
It's
Hey, we can say Shakespeare is wrong, right?
Sometimes.
I like it.
there are similar things if you look, but
Are you objecting to the say being in the ablative absolute?
I'm objecting to the fact that you have to take the purpurea luce again with circumjectus.
Circumjectus, yeah.
Yeah,
It's not absolute.
Yeah.
yeah. He's using it twice with two different constructions.
And you can't do that. That's like the whole point of an ablative absolute, which again, certainly writers before him did it. Tacitus does it. Juvenal does it. It happens, but it's wrong.
Okay.
And
You don't
himself,
think it's just clever and rhetorical.
yeah. And himself surrounded with the purple light, which is a word picture, so I'll give him like
Right.
some credit back.
Kind of clever.
I mean, it's nice that he did that. I did see what he did there.
Mhm.
So that he might deceive Martin.
Is he like glowing but also giving off a laser beam? Is it something like that?
He's bathed in purple light and sending it before him like a beam or a trail.
Okay.
Okay, so that he might the more easily deceive him by the brightness of his assumed, like, taken up shininess.
Mhm.
And the note there that Francesi had is misleading. Quo is not by which, it's not by means of which, it's an ablative of degree of difference.
Mhm.
It's which he notes you do use with comparative adjectives in the subjunctive and purpose clauses, but you don't translate it by which. You translate it so that
So that he might more
he might the more
Yeah.
easily.
This could also be a relatively early instance of quo for ut, which, for instance, we saw all over the Francorum.
It is quo for ut, but it's
classic,
specifically because it's in a purpose clause with a comparative.
Right. And quo for ut is classical, right, Jen?
Oh yeah. But you don't translate it by which.
No, you're right.
So then that's why I said the note's misleading. It's like the explanation.
Oh, right. So, yes, right. So that.
Yeah, it means.
Yeah,
so
really
that
not by which it's so that.
So that all the more easily, right?
It's the more.
Yeah, if it were by which, it would have to be qua.
Yep.
Or maybe.
It's a misleading note. Which is why I pointed out, since I don't want people to be misled. All the people watching this video. I just can't not say.
Hello, friend in Hong Kong.
Exactly. Clothed also in a royal garment, girded with a diadem made from gems and from gold, with shoes smeared with gold, but that's certainly not what we say. With a calm face.
Maybe lined with gold.
I think the shoes are gilded.
Gilded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Coated, maybe covered.
Yeah, covered with gold. With a calm face, with a happy face, like one of them you have to translate differently. With a happy expression. With the result that he would be thought there's nothing he would be thought less to be than the devil.
Just like before, this is the exact same thing with the nihil minus.
Nihil minus.
Nothing less than this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally we get to the main verb. He stood beside him, Martin, praying in his cell.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That redemitus, can that really mean girded? I could only find it as really meaning crowned.
Crowned, yeah.
I wrote down I looked it up, to bind round, wreath round, and circle, gird, crown were the meaning.
Oh, okay. I didn't look in the big dictionary for that one, clearly. Anyway, we know he's got a diadem on his head, so he's pretending to be Queen Elizabeth at the opening of Parliament.
Yeah, no, it seems to be read to me just exactly the word with a crown or a garland or something.
What is that thing called where you pile on semantic abundance? All of these glowing and regal and jewels and purple and all these words in this paragraph. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Pleonasm.
Yeah, it's great.
All right,
Joanna, do you want to keep going?
Sure. This is the exciting part. Cumque Martinus primo aspectu eius fuisset hebebatus, diu multum silentium ambo tenuerunt. And when Martin, at the first sight of him, had been, or maybe while or although, he had been stunned, hebebatus, just dulled, completely stupefied. Both of them, for a long time, held silence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess we in English we put that kept completely silent, right?
Sure. Yes, that's nice. Yes, the tenuerunt, that's much better in English. Yeah, thanks. Tum prior diabolus. Then, first, the devil spoke as the first one. He started the conversation. Agnosce inquit Martine quem cernis. Christus ego sum. Disque insurus ad terram prius me manifestare tibi volui. He's really flattering him here. Recognize, O Martin, he says, whom you are seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I am Christ. When I was about to descend to earth, I wanted to show myself to you first. Ad haec, cum Martinus taceret, nec quidquam responsi referret, Iterara ausus est diabolos professiones audaciam. Martine, quid dubitas credere cum videas? Christus ego sum. When Martin was silent, kept silent at these words, and did not give back any response, anything of response, the devil dared to reiterate, to do it again, to repeat the boldness, the audacity of his declaration. Martin, why do you hesitate to doubt when you're
to believe?
I am Christ. So this is like the Thomas scene.
Right.
Right. But did you hear Bruce's correction?
Why are you hesitating to believe?
To believe. Oh, what did I say? I don't know.
Or why are you doubting to believe? But
Yeah,
I think
yeah, no, hesitating to believe.
Yeah,
Thank
you just
you.
misspoke.
Thank you. I know that. Okay.
Mhm.
I am Christ. Then he, tum ille, revelante sibi spiritu, ut intellegere diabolum esse, non dominum, non se inquit Iesus Dominus purpuratum, nec diademater renidentem, venturum esse praedixit. Ego Christum, nisi in eo habitu formaque, qua passus est, nisi crucis stigmata praeferentem, we nisse non credam. Then he, Martin, with the Spirit revealing to him that he might understand him to be the devil, not the Lord, Martin says, Jesus the Lord did not predict himself to going to be coming.
If we say proclaim for praedixit, it's much easier. Did not
proclaim himself to be going to come. That's good.
Right. That he would.
Yeah. Then the ACI works better in English. Thank you.
Right.
Proclaim himself to be coming, purpled round. I'll be purpled. Nor shining with a diadem. Nor glittering with a diadem.
I like glittering.
Yeah. Before we go on, just to clarify for posterity, I would say the normal way just to translate that future infinitive and indirect statement is just he didn't proclaim that he would come.
That he would come. Yeah, that's good
Right.
in English. Yes.
Just be much more straight, much more direct.
More straightforward. Yeah, I'm trying to stick too close to the Latin grammar. Yeah, thank you.
A different thing that I went and looked up in the second sentence there. We kind of wanted it to be auditor because audidit and deceret seemed weird. I just went and looked at reproductions of two manuscripts, no soap.
And what?
No soap. It's clearly audidit in at least two early manuscripts. It would not be a hard mistake for an editor, a transcriber to make if there were just some little dwidge over the T, which meant you are, but there ain't one here. Anyway.
Okay.
I non credam Christum venisse. I will not believe that Christ has come unless he comes. You have to understand. Unless in that habitu, really, I think this means dress or appear. How he looks.
Yeah.
In that dress or appearance and the form in which he suffered, and unless he shows forth the signs, the stigmata, the holes of the cross. Ooh, okay. Now the devil's response. Ad hanc ille vocem statim ut fumus eo vanuit. Et cellulam tanto foetore complevit, ut in dubia indicia relinqueret diabolum se fuisse. So this is now the devil, at that speech, vanished immediately like smoke, and filled up the cell with such fetidness, with such disgusting, probably odor. I don't think it's a mess.
Yeah.
That he left undoubtable signs that he had been the devil, that he was the devil.
Yeah.
He left that. You're right. This literally had been the devil, right?
Yeah, that he had been the devil because he's now gone.
He's gone.
Right.
Yeah, that it had been the devil and not. You know. Hoc itaque gestum ut supra retuli, ex ipsius Martini ore cognovi, ne quis forte existimet fabulosum. You have to supply esse. This, well, I'll just start with the cognovi. I heard this to have been done just as I reported it above. I heard it out of the mouth of Martin himself, lest anybody perhaps might think it to be fanciful.
What do we do with itaque?
Ita. I'm just taking it as ita. Itaut. Is that okay? That's.
I couldn't it just. I took it just as and so.
Yeah. Therefore. Yeah.
It's kind of a summing up word.
So I think what happened here is we would
just
say in New England is that the devil cut a wicked big fat. That sound right to you, Jen?
That sounds fine.
Maybe, yeah, because the sulfur, like the smoke, I imagine it as a big sulfur smell.
Yep.
Yeah. But do we want to talk about itaque more? I mean, it clearly means thus, right?
Yeah.
Which isn't quite, but I took it that it gets used as a sort of sum up. Thus we see, or in short. But I don't know that that's totally right.
Well, I think
Are you looking at a dictionary?
I am.
About 13 entries down will be the itaque we want, right?
I think Joanna's right that the ut is going very closely with it, which I hadn't originally taken it as. I just took, like, I had originally thought, therefore, that this was done as I related above, I recognized or learned from the mouth of Martin himself. But I think Joanna, I think you're right that it is like, it's a little more close than that. Like the ita really is much more like, and that this was done thus as.
Yeah.
That's how I just read it.
Affirmations. Yes, it is so. It is so. It's something like it's the case that.
Well, for what it's worth, so the meaning I was having in mind is OLD2, resuming after parenthesis or a digression, well then. In other words, here's the story. Well then, this is how it happened.
I don't think that's as strong because this whole last sentence is trying to say, no, really, this, even though it sounds horrible and the devil farting and everything is weird and you might think that's fanciful, it really did happen just this way. So I think he's emphasizing just this way.
But do you think then that it's ita plus que?
I don't know. I didn't think it through that thoroughly.
No.
I just thought that the ut picked it up.
That's what it would have to be if.
That's just how I felt it. Yeah.
But I like that better because the therefore referring back didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, the itaque just as.
Yes, it's summative, but in fact, this sentence is actually really leading to the next part.
It does. OLD3 does say, giving exactly one example in classical Latin, that it can be used apparently for simple ita in that manner.
So maybe it's even strengthened here, just this way, as I just said.
Yes, just right, exactly as I just said it.
Right.
Yeah. I like that idea. Who's the reference?
It's Ulpian's it's Ulpian Digest, which
Oh,
is
it's post-classical or post Augustan anyway.
I don't know what you call legal Latin. It's classical,
But Ulpian's 2nd century,
early third even.
early third. Okay, yeah.
But he's the classical. He's the most classical lawyer there is. So anyway, clearly, Itzhakwe could use more research. Late Latin, late uses of Itzhakwe.
Oh, you know it's out there somewhere.
Well, and for what it's worth, Francesi's note is taking it as just Ita too, because his translation is that this incident happened in this way.
Ita, yeah, right.
Ita plus que.
Okay.
I guess. So does that happen? Ita plus que?
What does Fontaine? I don't remember ever seeing that.
Well, I guess the thing is, I may have seen it before and not recognized it because I thought it was Itaque.
Right.
One word.
Fontaine seems to take it that way too.
Who does? Oh, Fontaine.
Fontaine. C'est fait tel que je viens de les rapporter. Je l'ai écrit. Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right, Mona, you've got a huge chunk.
Okay. Dive into it. Now that the bells and smells are all out of the way. So let's see, chapter 20, section 25, sentence 1.
You got the kinky chapter.
It is kind of weird. Nam cum olem audita fide eius vita atque virtute desiderio illius aestuarimus gratam nobis ad eum videndum suscepimus peregrinationem. Now, when long ago, his faith, life, and virtue had been heard of. All of those ablative absolutes are just kind of funny sounding. We were burning, understood to be I was burning, with a longing for that man. We undertook a pleasant journey for us, for me, to see him, for the purpose of seeing him. We did this. Okay, so simulquia iam ardebat animus vitam illius scribe, partem ab ipso, in quantum ille interrogari potuit, sciscitati sumus, partem ab his qui interfuerant vel scebant ognovimus. Likewise, because my desire, or our desire, was already burning.
Animus is the subject there, isn't it?
Our mind.
My spirit, my soul was already burning.
I think spirit. I think we probably don't want to go further than spirit. The soul, we'd really want anima, I think.
Yeah, that's true. So my spirit was already burning to write the life of that one, of Martin. We inquired partly from him himself, insofar as that one was able to be questioned, and partly from those who had been present or who used to know him. We gained knowledge. We learned from partly from those who used to know him or who had been present.
But is interfuerat, that's pluperfect. So had been present or did know him.
Yeah.
In the perfect. That's a little odd, isn't it?
Yeah, that is weird. Who had been present or who used to know him.
I thought this punctuation was weird, just to keep going with commas after scribere,
Yes. Yeah.
right? It's kind of like there should be a semicolon there or something. I feel like there's really no
That's the
grammatical
quia clause,
connection.
though.
What's that?
The quia clause is ending there. That's why there's a comma. Because my mind was burning to write, I inquired partly.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know, his mind's on fire and he's burning with desire.
That's right. All for a
He is so heavily eroticized. Absolutely.
Right. No, that's right, Jen. Thank you.
I thought this was very unusual, his word choices here. I was surprised.
Yeah, I've been reading a 12th century text that does this a lot too. This is an abbot of whom my brilliant friend David Townsend, whom I mentioned a minute ago in connection with infinitives, says that Aelred of Rievaulx very carefully builds himself a closet and then opens it wide open for us to peer into.
That is such a cool text, the De Amicitia. I love it.
This is a different one. But this is but actually he was referring to De Anima, which I haven't read, where he gets to this one point of preterition where he talks about the loss of his friend Simon. And he says, you know, I'm so overwhelmed with the memory of Simon that I can't go on. David said, basically, Aelred was trying to get in good with Jesus in order to get to Simon.
He parses out so carefully in the De Amicitia, like what physical contact you're allowed to have with your fellow monks and what you're not. And the language of it is absolutely so
very eroticized. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's the wide open closet. It's weird.
I guess what you can't resolve or achieve in real life, literature will help you do. So,
what I want to know in the text I'm reading is, why does he feel it necessary to tell his sister his sexual history in detail? Why would he want to?
That's all part of it.
Boundaries.
That's all part of it. No limits.
We need to keep going. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Where were we? Let's see. So he learned about him from people that used to know him or from Martin himself. So sentence 2. Quoquidem tempore credi non potest, qua me humilitate.
Can I interrupt you? I'm a
Sure, no, that's all right.
But sciebon, I don't think it means people who knew him. I think it means people who knew the
things
about him. Yeah,
it's not. It
would be cognosco.
Yeah, like cognoverant or something.
Yeah.
Interferant, who were present, well, sciebon, or just who knew about it.
Who knew about
him or his life, the things associated with him.
Knew about, probably we're going back to Vita Milius. No, we're not. Never mind. Well, maybe we are, sort of.
Okay, so
and then the cognoe is the like. Then he's like all informed about it. The sciebon is less like general knowledge.
Just have knowledge of, yeah. Thank you.
Number sentence 2. Quo quidem tempore credi non potest, qua me humilitate, qua benignitate susceperit. Indeed, it is not able to be believed with what humility and with what kindness he received me at that time.
Good.
Congratulatus plurimum et gavissus in Domino, quod tanti esset habitus a nobis, quem peregrinatione suscepta expecteremus. He received me at that time, having expressed great happiness and having rejoiced in the Lord, because he was considered of such great character by us.
Oh, that's nice.
That we had sought him out. after the journey had been undertaken, or ablative after the journey having been undertaken.
Right.
Sentence 3. Miserum me, paine, non audeo confiteri, cum me sancto convivio suo, dignatus esset adhibere, aquam manus nostri ipse obtulit, ad vesperum autem pedes ipse nobis abuit. Oh, wretched me, I almost don't dare to confess it. When he considered me worthy to invite to his own like holy feast or holy banquet, he himself brought water for our hands. Moreover, toward evening, he himself washed my feet, washed the feet for me or for us. My feet, yeah. It's confusing with this us, we. I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
The dignatus esset, the dignatus is he deigned, right? Not he considered, not dignatum me. It's not he considered me worthy, but he deigned to invite me, or to his.
Yeah, or he deemed it worthy to.
He deemed it worthy. Yeah.
I have.
Is with adhibe, right? To invite me. It's not the object of dignatus.
Okay.
No.
Right. I did. This is a grammar question and a punctuation question. Mona, you seem to take miserum me kind of as exclamatory, which is not the way this is punctuated, but it could
That's
be
true.
right.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm so used to.
Yeah, but I guess I sort of took it. He deigned to invite wretched me. I almost don't dare to confess it. Or sorry, when he deigned to invite wretched me, I almost dare to confess it, me to his holy feast, which I, by the way, think might be Mass.
Okay.
I thought it was dinner.
Or dinner, or some kind of banquet.
Yeah, but O Sacrum Convivium
Or just company. Does it ever, but it's convivio suo. Does it ever occur as a term for the Holy Mass?
Sacrum Convivium, yes.
Well, yeah, O Sacrum Convivium, but I mean in prose texts like this?
I think I've seen it before. I'm not sure. I think it's a possibility, and it may be purposeful.
And it is Sancto Convivio Suo, his Holy Mass, maybe.
I don't think you can take miserum me except as accusative of exclamation.
Yeah, me neither.
You don't think
because then he repeats it after
the may?
With a resumptive pronoun and that far separated from the clause and with a parenthetical in between, I can't.
I agree. Because there's the cum and then he repeats the me, so it's clearly
And it's such a common exclamation.
Right.
I didn't even think twice about it, because it's something we're so used to seeing. But
I wonder if, but it's not punctuated as if that's what it. I think Francese doesn't think it's an exclamatory.
No, Fontaine puts a comma after miserum me and then the dash.
I have a text where it has an end, a big dash.
Me too.
Right. Well, that's what Francese just has the dash. Fontaine
has the M dash, right?
Comma and then the dash, which I think, and he translates it "miserable que je suis," miserable as I was.
Fontaine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's not doing it. He's not that doesn't sound like exclamatory accusative, does it?
No.
I think this one is all in how you punctuate it. In other words, I don't think I'm not sure there's a right or wrong answer here.
Well, but the cum followed by cum me, it really, you can't really work it into the sentence.
Fontaine does translate it as an exclamative. Misérable que je suis.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
that is.
and then he says, quand il daigna me faire partager.
Mm-hmm.
He just
Oh, wretched that I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't say though, when he deigned to invite me, wretched me. I hardly dare to say it. To his, I agree that the word order is difficult, but I think you can do it that way grammatically. And remember, there's a repetition a little bit further along here. Is it a nulla or an ulla? He does it somewhere else close by.
Well, there's going to start to be quite a few repetitions as it goes towards the end where he's moved and starts repeating words.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. It's possible.
and also
need to read it that way, but I mean, it's possible.
And also logically, that's what he's saying. He's saying, wretched me, that this glorious guy should deign to invite poor old me.
Yeah, it's like I'm almost embarrassed to admit that he invited me.
Yeah. I mean, that is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's not like it's certainly not poor me in the sense of like, this is a terrible thing. It's like,
no.
It really is poor me. Like, how could you do this?
Right, a lowly creature.
Yeah.
Lowly or unworthy, maybe.
Unworthy, yeah. That sense of wretched.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really find
Not normal exclamation, which would be like, wow, this is terrible. So
Right.
Right. No.
it's almost like the force of the accusative is maintained, even if it's an accusative exclamation, it's like maintained throughout the rest of the sentence, right?
Yeah.
There's a sense in which it is, in fact, the direct object.
Which he's done several times, where he starts with the construction and then he kind of elaborates it, or he uses, takes it up again in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
I would also, I wonder if have we milked that one for about as much as of our own?
We are waiting for Paula. I mean, we are drawing it.
we're not in a hurry.
We're not in a hurry, no. I wonder if that ad vespera might be not just toward evening, but might in fact be at vespers. That is the service in the monastic cycle that takes place essentially at dusk. No way to know. But and I cannot remember for the moment if that service is particularly associated with foot washing. I might
normally not. I mean, that's not part of the normal.
No.
Well,
Holy Communion.
Going back to the question of convivium, he offers water at it. Do you do that in a mass? I have no idea.
Oh, I thought he was just helping him wash his hands before dinner.
Right, but then it's not
Water takes
before
place in the mass, but not like that.
Right. No, that's right. That would mean that there would have to have been mass.
Maybe before mass, but that's not a part of the ritual for sure.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
All right, Holy Thursday is what seems. That's what I remembered. It's not Vespers associated with.
Right. That's a special service.
It's Maundy Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, the fundamentalist Baptists do it every Sunday.
Do they? They wash feet every Sunday?
Yeah, the foot washers.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Really? That's not very fundamentalist of them. Jesus washed everybody's feet the day before Good Friday.
Well, right. And so, in fact, I remember talking about this with my grandmother many years ago, that she always said rather open-mindedly that they say it in the Bible. They say, do this in remembrance of me. Let's have the bread and wine. So why not do the foot washing?
The whole thing.
That's true.
Wow. Even the Catholics don't go that far.
Well,
and he also mentioned it.
Except the Pope.
Except the Pope.
Right.
And he mentioned it another time when he said, if your feet are washed, then you're all clean, right?
Yeah.
So, it's something, and it's always told that people did it all the time when they were guests at somebody's house.
I guess because from scripture in the biblical times, I mean, if your feet were clean, you probably felt a lot better because they were probably so dirty, walking
Dusty in your sandals.
dusty, yeah. So it probably is.
Even if your sandals were gilt, right?
Right, exactly. Then you want to clean it off those gilt shoes.
By the way, in this weird text by the same author as Spiritual Friendship, the recluse is supposed to basically imagine incidents in the life of Christ. And the foot fetishism that goes on this, she's supposed to lick the dirt off his feet all the time.
Oh.
It's really kind of gross.
The whole thing is kinky as all get out, if you ask me.
These thoughts will express themselves one way or the other. Can't repress them. Cannot repress
Or
them.
not. Onward.
Okay, so let's see.
Mona, you really got away with the aphorisms.
Been at this stuff for a long time.
Yeah, but several weeks ago we were talking about the most annoying thing about the Latin language, or arguing back and forth, and you summarized it by saying we're kind of spoiled for choice, which I thought was so
And we're
brilliant.
still, I know, you could spend your whole life. Couldn't pick one thing. There are too many. So let's see. They finally washed their feet. Nobis abuit. Nec reniti aut contra ire constantia fuit. Ita auctoritate illius oppressus sum ut nefas putarum, si non adquie vissim. He's showing how much of a wimp he is. Nor was there firmness of character, meaning his own character, to resist or go against. Understood what Martin was doing, his actions. Ita auctoritate. I was so overwhelmed or oppressed by the authority of that man that I would consider it nefas, like a sin, if I had not acquiesced, if I hadn't given in.
I can't resist another weird thing. Oppressus.
I know. Instead of for being overwhelmed.
It's the word that Jerome uses in the Vulgate. So I assume it was in the mix when Sulpicius was writing. Uses in the Vulgate for rape. There is a section. So here's another thing with a possible sexual overtone. I was so overwhelmed by him with maybe something sexual in there.
Well, and that it's coming up, and I couldn't say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I hadn't given in, right? Adquie vissim. So sermo autem illius, non alius apud nos fuit, quam mundi illecebras et saeculi onera reliquenda, ut dominum Iesum liberi expeditique sequeremur. Moreover, the sermo, the conversation of that man, of Martin, with us, or with me, was not other than the enticements of the world and the burdens of the present age, which ought to be relinquished, to be given up, to be set aside, so that we might follow the Lord Jesus free and expeditive way, sort of, and unimpeded.
Nice.
Praestantissimumque nobis praesentium temporum illustris viri Paulini, cuius supra fecimus mentionem, exemplum ingerebat, qui sumus opibus abiectis, Christum secutus solus paene his temporibus, evangelica precepta complessit. He kept bringing up to us the most outstanding example, presentium of the present times, the illustrious man Paulinus, of whom we made mention above, who the greatest wealth Sumis opibus objectus, the greatest wealth having been cast aside. Habit secretus, having followed Christ, he had fulfilled the evangelical, maybe gospel precepts almost alone in these times. Like he was the only one,
Right.
like sola.
Great, that's tough, and that was good.
So let's see, 5. Illum nobis sequendum, illum clamabat, imitandum, beatum quae esse praesen saeculum, tantae fidei virtutisque documento, cum secundum sententiam Domini, dives et possidens multa, venendo omnia et dando pauperibus, quod erat factu impossibile, possibile fecit exemplo. He kept proclaiming Paulinus, or that one, he ought to be followed by us. That he ought to be followed by us. That Paulinus, that one, as the one to be imitated. And again, he's still proclaiming that the present age was blessed, fortunate, in the example, with the example of so much faith and virtue. Because in accordance with the saying of the Lord, a rich man and one possessing much, by selling everything and by giving to the poor, that which was impossible to do had been made possible through his example, so through Paulinus' example, through his example. Right?
Perfect.
Yeah, he had made possible.
Right.
He had made possible. Okay.
At the very end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the subject.
Other than that, that was perfect and difficult.
This is marvelous.
Yes.
This is very elegant.
It's really picked up again. Once he got off of the repressed subjects, he sort of regained his old stylish.
And Jen, here are beautiful tablet of absolutes.
Yes, he's done much better here. This part is lovely. The last section is so nice. Like, it got better and better as he got towards the end.
He's recovered his
composure. The devil was interfering.
That's it, the daimonim.
Also, the parallelism at the very beginning, I think, is elegant, right? He shouted that one should be followed by us. That was the man to be followed by us. That was the man to be imitated by us.
And at the end, the juxtaposition and alliteration, impossibile, possibile, fecit exemplo.
Yeah, which is a great phrase, and I hadn't noted, it's a great phrase to begin with, and I hadn't even noticed the alliteration before Anna pointed it out, which makes it even better.
That's great.
And it's got the juxtaposition in the middle of impossibile, possibile. It's got the etymological wordplay with factu, fecit, so it's like, it's just so nice. Such a good job.
He's recovered his senses. So sentence 6, iam vero in verbis et confabulatione eius quanta gravitas, quanta dignitas erat. Now, indeed, what gravitas, what seriousness and dignity were in his words and speech. Quam acer, quam efficax erat, how shrewd and efficax, powerful he was. Quam in absolvendi scripturarum quaestionibus promptus et facilis. How quick and at ease, or easy, it's like totally comfortable.
Agile.
agile in resolving.
Or even quick. It could be just how ready and quick he was.
In resolving questions of the scriptures. 7. Et quia multos ad hanc partem incredulos scio, quippe quos viderim me ipso etiam referente, non credere, Iesum testor spemque communem me ex nullius omquam ore tantum scientiae, tantum ingenii, tantum tam boni et tam puri sermonis audice. And because because I know, Scio, that many are not believing, incredulous on this point, in as much or since, and you have to kind of turn the sentence around because it's a little bit
or even just, I think quippe could contra franchise just be indeed, in fact.
And I took the quos to really mean aliquos.
Yeah.
Some people, right?
Some people, yeah.
After quippe.
Since I have seen, or some people not believe, and I think he's saying here, even with me relating it.
Right.
Testor, and now he goes from we to I. That's pretty cool. Eyewitness, testor Iesum, call to witness Jesus, and our common hope, that I have not ever heard from the mouth of anyone so much wisdom, so much ingenuity, cleverness, so much of so good and so pure conversation.
Good.
Speech.
Okay, number 8. Quamquam in Martini virtutibus quantula est ista laudatio. Although, with respect to the virtues of Martin, how trifling is this praise of mine? Nisi quod mirum est homini illiterato, ne hanc quidem gratiam defuisse, except that it is remarkable for an uneducated man, homini illiterato.
Yeah, right after his most elegant passage.
That not even this merit was lacking.
His grace.
His grace.
Yeah, really probably could be grace, as in, some kind of free gift from God. What did you do with trifling? That was lovely.
Let me see where. Quantula est ista laudatio.
Yeah, how you said how trifling is.
Yeah, how trifling, how small.
I thought it was just terrific.
So the hominy illiterato is Sulpicius?
I thought it was Sulpicius because
isn't it
Martin?
It has to be.
No,
I was because of the Nisi also. It's weird because he's contrasting, but what is he saying?
Well, I think he's saying that the kind of grace of intellectual abilities is quite remarkable in someone who doesn't have much of a formal education.
Wait, so you're saying it's about Martin?
Sulpicius, who would have had a lot more.
Wait, so you're saying it's about Martin?
Yeah, I think so.
That the grace. Okay, because I was wondering if it could be taken to refer to himself. This praise is so small, unless, except that it's no surprise that even to me, such an illiterate man, the grace to say such praise
is not lacking.
Should be absent.
Yeah, I kind of think Sulpicius, who's being pretty modest here, would not attribute
Yeah.
gratiam to himself.
To himself, yeah, I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
The
So what does that final sentence actually mean then?
This is a very, this is a trifling. This is totally inadequate praise, except for the fact that he got the grace to be so to be so smart, even though he didn't have a lot of education.
So you're saying the hanc gratiam goes back to how tantum ingeni, tantum boni et puris sermonis he is.
I think so.
What I thought he was saying was that it's that when he says, Martin has the most amazing ability to speak, that he's saying that's, those words are, even though too small, that's not even saying very much, except for the fact that there's no reason he should have been so good at it. There is something a little weird about using ista there, and I think he's done it other times too. It shouldn't mean this praise of mine. Ista should never mean that, but
but that is what it.
I think it's one of those things that goes wrong.
Yeah.
Or is he just being again a little bit self-deprecating? That praise that I just said.
But ista should never ever mean
Should
that.
never refer to this one of mine. It should always be that one over there.
Well, that's what I meant. Is like that their thing. In other words, separate. This laudatio that I've just given him, is that their thing? No.
It's in classical Latin. It should never mean this. I mean, William, you can. I mean, it's ista. It's the the so-called second person pronoun, or the demonstrative, or the continuous demonstrative.
Does it never have a slightly derogatory overtone?
Yeah.
Sometimes it
Only
does.
when you're talking about somebody else's thing, that thing of yours. It should never be that terrible thing of mine.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I see. Huh.
I don't see how it can't mean that's that terrible thing of mine here. That's what it has to mean. But this
is not what you'd usually do in classical Latin. Okay.
Well,
you know what? I bet I've seen this enough in medieval Latin that it just doesn't.
I think it's one of the things
anymore.
Right.
Yeah, one of those things.
It couldn't be Jesus's endorsement, right? I call on Jesus to witness, but how pathetic is that praise? I mean, how inadequate is that praise?
Wait, are you calling on Jesus's endorsement as inadequate?
Well, in other words, it's inadequate because it doesn't rise to sort of fully, he's just being modest about the praise. In other words, I'm trying to get around Jen's objection that technically it's not his praise, it's technically somebody else's praise.
I think that's tying yourself in knots.
Okay.
I think it's just that by this point, iste had lost the force it was supposed to have.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is used more generally.
You would really refer to somebody else. You wouldn't say ista laudatio, meaning ista mea laudatio. You just don't do that.
Say haec mea, you could say illa mea. You cannot. But again, I know that I'm quite sure it's one of the things that changes. So it would certainly have changed by this point.
Yeah.
But since we stopped to talk about what the praise was, that's why I thought I'd.
All right.
Yeah, and as we keep discovering, if we dig deep enough in the dictionary, we may find one example from the 3rd century or before.
Okay, so the final thought of sentence 8 is, but this praise of mine of the virtues of Martin is worth very little, except the fact that it's amazing that even this gratia, this elegance of speech, not even this was lacking to a man who wasn't really very well educated.
Mm-hmm.
So the final thing he's been talking about is that he had all of this great conversation and so much knowledge. That's not very important but it's another string to his bow.
But yeah, you're right. It's another virtus.
Right.
Whatever
And a
virtus
rather
means.
surprising one, given his level of education.
Yeah, given that when he went into the army when he was 8 or something.
Right.
And I think I just noticed that it's kind of cool that just at the moment when he is deprecating his own laudatio and saying, oh, it's just not even enough to do him justice, then he says, but he has just exactly that elegance that I'm deprecating in my own speech. In other words, if he had to praise somebody, he probably would have done it a lot better than I am doing it right now.
But he just worked so hard on his praise.
Exactly.
There's 2 instances of a tricolon crescane.
Yes.
Those last passages, like
Yes.
twice in a row, to be like, oh yes.
Exactly. Exactly. It's total irony. That's wonderful. All right.
Amazing job, Anna. Great.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was
Great fun.
I am going to ask for a 2-minute break because I've just gotten a phone call from an area code for which I always answer because I am the primary long-distance caregiver for my dying 108-year-old grandmother.
Oh my
If
gosh.
I'm not back in 2 minutes, how about go ahead?
All right.
Thank you.
We turn off the recording?
That'll confuse everything, I think. I think we should just talk among ourselves.
Yeah. Talk amongst yourselves.
We could read it in Latin, get it out of the way.
Okay.
Why don't we do that?
Mhm.
Who wants to do it? Joanna, you read so nicely. You're foreign. Is that you're originally from Germany?
Yes, I learned Latin in Germany.
I just think there's something very, I think just inherently being foreign just gets you out of these American sounds that are in my head.
Yeah.
It really does seem to add something. It's not very strong, but it's still, you've got more sensitivity to vowels and consonants. I mean,
I also love Italian.
Oh, where?
I think it's just the direct descendant of Latin.
Right.
I think it's beautiful.
You know, I thought Lawrence read very nicely with his Italian accent.
Yes.
His Anglo-Italian. Anyway, so why don't we just read, why don't you read section 26?
Okay. Sed iam finem liber postulat, sermo claudendus est. Non quod omnia quae de Martino forent dicenda de fecerent, sed quia nos, ut inertes poetae, extremo in opera negligentes, victi materiae mole succumbimus. Nam etsi facta Elius explicari verbis utcumque potuerunt, interiorem vitam Elius, et conversationem quotidianam, et animum caelo semper intentum, nulla unquam vere profiteor, nulla explicabit oratio. Illam scilicet perseverantiam et temperamentum in abstinentia et in iuniis, potentiam in vigiliis et orationibus, noctesque ab eo perinde ac dies actas, nullumque vacuum ab opere Dei tempus, quo vel otio indulserit vel negotio, sed ne cibo quidem aut somno, nisi quantum naturae necessitas cogebat. Vere fatebor, non si ipse ut aiunt, ab inferis Homerus emergeret, posset exponere. Woo! That is
You
a
wanna
really
stop?
long breath.
Why don't we stop there because Bruce is back?
Oh, okay.
Great.
Sorry.
That's great.
I walk into the room and I hear the unmistakable
Right.
Joanna reading.
Joanna, did you learn I'd like everyone's opinion on this. When I read Latin prose, I don't elide the vowels, but obviously I should elide the vowels.
Well, I do it from poetry,
Right.
I don't know. I'm from Italian, I guess.
So do I. But and you did, and sometimes you did it, and sometimes you didn't do it. I couldn't tell if there was a principle or whether you're just.
No. It's just, I guess, when it's a clump, when it's a cluster, I guess I would do it more.
Well, you do it and you make it sound very natural. You manage to sound almost like both vowels at the same time. You really actually blend the vowels in a way.
Yeah, I don't really think about it.
Okay. Anyway,
it's like Italian singing. I'm a singer, and
that makes
That's
sense.
explained.
and in singing, when you sing Italian, you don't completely elide the vowels like you do in Latin poetry. You actually say them both quickly. You kind of glide them together.
Okay.
So, I don't know, but I don't. Like I said, I don't think about it.
Jen, do you teach Alicia? I mean, do you elide when you read in prose?
Not in prose usually. The kids here, there's a couple of readers, because I use the Cambridge Latin course, so the readers on all the audio for it are British. And a few of them do drop vowels, and a couple of them actually do the nasalized end vowels, like
yeah, I love that.
What, cognatio, you mean?
All of them.
Well, something like fina instead of finem, where that's how it was sounded. That is, I mean, it's correct. It's
Perseverantium et temperantum et temperamentum. Something like
most of us don't do it because that one I don't do. I every once in a while I think I should, but I don't. And but I do like hearing it. And so a couple of their readers elide in the videos and stuff, but most of them don't. I think most people don't in prose. I don't think we have good evidence that the Romans necessarily did. We have very good evidence that they did nasalize those final vowels. There's no question that they did, despite how we all say them. But I think that the evidence for spoken Latin is much more that they probably did not completely drop the first one like you would in elision, that instead they say both, but they're shoved together.
Glided them, yeah.
In other words, they're doing what Joanna was doing.
Okay.
That's to the best of my knowledge offhand, that's what people did.
And these questions of how these things were pronounced is super, super complicated. So in a sense, I think, Joanna says she kind of does this by instinct, but it's
I have read. I just reread Alan's book actually, where he goes through every single letter and every single consonant and vowel in all the cases in detail.
Right. Yep.
And that's always really enlightening because I'm always trying to improve. But then I try not to overthink when I'm actually reading it.
I love when you can hear, as you do, Joanna, when you can hear someone distinguish the quantities. I think that is so nice to hear because so many people don't.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I work hard.
I've worked really hard to learn them because some of them I learned correctly and some of them I didn't.
Yeah.
And, to go back and learn them, it's like trying to learn Greek accents now where I didn't have teachers pronouncing them. They just accented everything like it was Latin. And so I never learned them. So I haven't the faintest idea what accents go on most Greek words, and it makes me feel very inadequate.
It's terrible, yeah. I think it's so important, the quantities, because besides the grammar, then you can read poetry without having to figure it out. And the other wonderful thing is it gives you so much expressive power. And the fact that when there are two consonants together, not just doubled ones, but even facta, that consonant cluster makes the syllable long. It's not that in poetry the A becomes long.
Oh, no.
Right.
It's that the syllable is long because it's got the two consonants. So you can actually linger on those as well, which makes it really beautiful.
It's like modern Italian, even where the double consonants are given equal weight, they're given, you pronounce them longer.
Yeah, not only the double, but also just factailios. It's just beautiful.
Well, what really happens there is the reason that double consonants like that make a syllable long, as classicists say, heavy, as linguists say.
Yeah, heavy.
It changes where the syllable division would have been. So if you have facta, the division is in between the C and the T. So fuck then becomes a syllable with ending in a consonant, which is different from a syllable ending in a vowel, and those are called mori, which is, so if it's a long vowel, it's two mora. If it's a short vowel plus a consonant, it's two mora. And so that's why we call those.
But I think what that explanation is actually getting at is the matter of that you linger. You go fakta. You don't go fakta.
Right.
Actually,
they're not together, and that's why.
You actually close the vowel and stop, and then you go on.
And because that's why that mute plus liquid rule in scansion that drives crazy.
Yeah. That's why, right?
Is because they're sounded together,
because you don't do it there.
Although generally they are, especially as you get later. But because it's where the division is,
right?
And so it's optional to divide in between them, and later it becomes pretty much obligatory to put them with the next syllable.
Put them together, right?
And so again, it's a question, and because it doesn't matter how many sounds you have at the beginning of your syllable, that's not where the counting comes from. The counting comes from the end. So the nucleus, which is the vowel, plus the whatever you call it, not the onset, the opposite, the end of it.
The abklang,
I can't, totally blanking on the word. Coda, that's the word for it. So Latin only cares if your syllable is open or closed, meaning does it have a thing at the end of the syllable, or did it have a long vowel, because that's how they count the mori.
Right.
And it absolutely is not quite like English.
No, and it actually is describing something that you do when you're reciting or speaking, how the amount of time you're spending on certain things.
Well, and the Romans cared even in prose. It wasn't like they only cared in poetry. That's why you have all those clausuli that people who are better at it than I am, can find in good prose authors.
It's really tough, isn't it? Yeah. Really good medieval prose authors are all over that. But you need somebody as smart as, say, Peter Abelard to do it really well.
Erasmus.
Mm-hmm.
I bet.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever read any Erasmus in Latin, but
he has a beautiful ear.
Wouldn't surprise me.
He has a beautiful ear. Yeah.
There's a lot of really fun the colloquia that are little conversations that are almost teaching conversations.
Right. They are teaching conversations. Absolutely. That's what they're for. Yeah.
Okay, Bruce.
William, you came up with this little project 2.5 years ago, and then all these people dropped in from heaven.
Mm-hmm. With knowledge.
Oh my goodness.
No, we gained knowledge along the way.
Oh my goodness.
Even without it. We were indoctrinated.
Okay.
But during the school year, I don't get to tell people most of those things. High school kids don't care.
No, but you're dealing with the serious nerds, and it is just such a pleasure. I can't.
Well, this is the great thing about technology, because before we would have all been in our little.
How would we ever? I mean, William and I are the only ones who would ever have met.
Right.
But now, the book demands an end. The subject should be closed. Not because everything that should have been said about Martin has run out, but because we, like indolent poets, careless in our last effort.
Yeah, no.
Isn't it? It's careless at the end of.
At the end of the work. Is he referring to Virgil?
No, I don't think so.
That would be really terrible to call Virgil a poeta in heirs.
I just think it's so ironic, because he clearly put the most work into his end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's claiming not to.
Oh, these last 2 chapters are great.
What is that, Lytodes?
Careless at the end of the work, succumb, defeated by the weight of the material, subject matter.
Which is a Virgilian phrase, isn't it?
Which
Those
one?
words are Virgilian. Does he ever use them together?
I don't know if he uses them together. I know he uses those words.
Yeah, the words are very Virgilian. You're right.
I wonder
And
if it's
the end of the Aeneid is so troublesome. But what a terrible thing.
flat. It's flat, 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 isn't it?
Oh,
What?
Bill Turnus.
well, that's why they wrote a 13th book, because they thought it was so bad and needed another book.
Is that true? They didn't like the end of the Aeneid?
Somebody thought it wasn't finished and wrote a 13th book.
Have you read it? Is it extant?
It is. I haven't read it. I'm sure.
I mean,
That's what I get for talking about things off the top of my head, but I think it still exists.
I only glanced through Fontaine, but he doesn't seem to have any obvious candidates for these tired poets, for these poets that give out at the end. I was disappointed.
Yeah, I didn't read this part of the commentary.
I wanted to know who Sulpicius had in mind.
Yeah, that's a good, or if it's a trope, is it some kind of a trope?
Well, the tiredness is a trope, and he talks about that, and the giving out, and the not being able, and there being more material than.
Yeah.
But the Poetae inertes, he doesn't have anything very, very close, very illuminating on. So it'd be interesting to know if there was a late antique feeling that the Aeneid was sad. I mean, it would make sense after all, and that you could think that Virgil died before he finished it and was running out of steam. I don't know. Anyway.
For although his deeds ought to have been explicated, set out in words somehow or another, no treatise, I say no, truly I say no treatise ever will lay out his interior life or his daily, way of being. As I say, conversatio is a word that refers to monastic way of life, and his soul always intent on heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to go way, 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 way past. Because I think it becomes confusing if you. I'm going to translate this so we get verbs at the beginning, because otherwise it's just awful. So I would start with vere. Truly, I will. That's I will say, right? Truly, I will say that if Homer himself, as they say, were to emerge from the depths, he could not explain. Now we go back to Ilam. For instance, that perseverance and restraint in abstinence and in fasts, his power in vigils and prayers, his nights in the same way as his days spent by him, the way, let's colloquially, the way he spent his days, and in the same way his nights. And no time free from the work of God. In which either he devoted himself to quiet or to business, but he did not indulge himself, because I think indulcet means, as kind of carries two meanings here. Indulged himself, he did not indulge himself, in fact, in food or in sleep, except insofar as the necessity of nature drove him to do so, demanded that he do so. And that takes me to exponere.
Yeah, that's so one detail thing is the ne kibo quidem, right? Not even food or
not even, right. Sorry. Good.
And then how you do the where fatabor and the if so it's ultimately the subject is Homer, if he were to emerge from the dead,
right,
would not even he would be able
to lay out this, that, and the other.
And the where fatabor is really kind of almost I would have punctuated maybe with dashes. I will tell you the truth.
Yep.
Right. Good. That's kind of that may be the hardest sentence we've had of all. Is that possible? I don't know. I found that really...
Actually, I think once you figure out the order in which you do it, it's not that bad, but it's strange.
It's the non-subject that I find strange.
Right. Right. Yeah. You got you got this huge collection of objects.
Mm-hmm.
William, Paula says she's here.
Sorry, what?
Paula says she's here.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
All right. Hold it. It's so not intuitive. Where is it? Participants. Okay, participants, attendee list, policy. Okay, there we go. Should think there'd just be one master list of people who you might want to click on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She's promoted. Keep going, Bruce.
So, how far did you want to?
That's as far as you want to read.
Okay. Adeo omnia. Maiora in Martino sunt quam ut verbis concipi queat.
Joanna, did I mute you or did you mute yourself?
Hi, guys. I muted myself by accident.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Hi, Paula.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So we're in the middle of 26.3, Paula.
26.3. Okay.
To such an extent that all things sort of about Martin are greater than can be conceived in words.
Good.
Numquam ora ulo momentumque praeteriit, quo non autoratione incumberet aut insisteret lectioni, quamquam etiam interlegendum aut, quid aliud fortia gebat, numquam animum aborratione laxabat. No hour or moment passed by in which Martin did not devote himself to prayer or apply himself to reading. Although even amidst reading, or if perhaps he was doing something else, he never released or relaxed his spirit from prayer.
I would say his mind, right? His animus.
His mind, better. Yes, that's right. His mind. Nimiram ut fabris Ferrariis moris est, qui interoperandum pro quodam laboris levamine incudem suum feriunt, ita Martinus etiam, dum aliud agere videretur, semper orabat. Of course, or indeed, as is the way of blacksmiths, who amidst, I'm just going to say their work,
right?
For a certain lightening of their labor, strike their anvil. In other words, they just relax by doing some repetitive task that doesn't require concentrating on the metal that they're
You'd think they would not want to beat their anvil more than necessary because it's so loud.
I thought that too. Fontaine has a great explanation for it, which I'm so excited about.
Oh, Fontaine?
Fontaine, he says, so I thought it was just like they would quit working and just bash the anvil for the hell of it, right? You know, that just, what could be more fun than hitting
Oh,
it?
I thought it was in between that they pre-tap.
Exactly. It's this pre-tap. That's what he says, is you hit it and then you go, you know, and then you go hit it again. You go, and then you hit it again.
Kind of bounces. I've been to a forge.
Exactly.
That's
The
what they
bouncing.
do.
It's
Yeah.
the bouncing that he's talking about. So that makes total sense. I think that's very
great.
cool. What's also interesting is he has this seems to be that he has no good parallels for this. I mean, Fontaine, that there a couple of people talk about blacksmiths, you know, like Ecclesiastes, you know, talks about blacksmiths at their work, but doesn't talk about this tapping as a metaphor for, or as an analogy for that, like he's constantly praying.
Constantly praying.
It's a great image, right? You know, anytime I'm not bashing, I'm praying. You know, it's
in other words, this is original Sulpicius.
Or otherwise unparalleled.
Maybe he knew it from his own experience in his life. Maybe he had an uncle who was a blacksmith or something.
Well, Fontaine does talk about the blacksmiths of Gaul. You know, that there are blacksmiths in Gaul.
For 14 pages, right?
Yeah, well, certainly hard to skim. Anyway, so I did think I felt so enlightened by that image. But you saw it yourself, Joanna. That's great.
Yeah, I didn't read Fontaine this time. I try to sometimes, but he's so long.
Yeah, no, I thought they were just doing it for kicks. You know, let's just hit the anvil.
That's what I thought. So
right.
I thought just like sort of mindlessly banging away as a break from having to sort of pay attention to whatever you're very carefully shaping.
It's really rhythmical too, like just as if you wouldn't want to lose your train of thought with prayer. Between strokes, when you sort of bounce that way, you can't just let go of your concentration.
Right.
Continuum.
I mean, right, exactly.
That's true, Mona.
So the banging is, he's always banging.
Right.
Even when he doesn't appear, even when he looks like he's might be doing something else, he's always.
Right.
That's so cool. Are we at 5?
Yeah.
Oh, vere sorry, I'll try to do classical. Oh, vere vir beatus. In neminem judicum pro malo redens. No guile. Judging no one. Condemning no one. Returning evil for evil to no one.
Sorry, the computer kind of blanked all that out.
Shall I just translate again?
Can you translate again from the beginning of 5?
Oh, truly blessed man, in whom there was no guile, judging no one, condemning no one, returning evil for evil to no one.
Isn't that somehow New Testament echo?
Yeah, I think that's
it's echoing in my head.
Yeah.
Return no one evil for evil. Is that an injunction of Jesus?
I'm thinking Paul, but you're right. I think it's
or maybe Paul. Yeah, maybe it's Paul. Right.
I think I think it's a very close echo of something. I agree. Tantum quipe adversum omnes injurias patientiam assumserat. What? Cum esset summus sacerdos. Impune etiam ad infimis clericis laederetur, nec propter ideos aut loco umquam amoverit, aut a sua, quantum ipso fuit, caricate repuluerit. So, in fact, he took on such patience, such forbearance against all insults or injuries that when he was bishop, that is to say, the highest priest, the high priest, the highest priest. He was, I have to take this as actually physically, he was struck with impunity even by the lowest clerics.
I thought it was just injured.
Yeah, but the word really sounds like physical assault, doesn't it?
Injured or wounded.
I thought it was just maybe because they were dissing him.
Right, backbiting. I thought it was backbiting, but
I don't think it has to be physical at all.
Could be like offended.
No, they're just attacking him.
Attacking, yeah.
It was the combination of lidere and impune that made me think that this might actually, and yeah, this is a rough and ready world that we're dealing with here.
Well, impune, that's because he turned the other cheek. He didn't do anything. He let it happen.
That's because he was unharmed. He was safe from it.
Oh, I thought he didn't punish. He didn't go after them because then later he says he didn't take them away from his charity.
No, I think impune refers to him, and it means he escaped any injury.
Yeah, like with impunity.
Right.
Yeah, but I thought he gave them the impunity because he was chief priest. He could have excommunicated or whatever, removed them from their. And in fact, it says he could have.
right.
Yeah, but
That's why I think
that's the next clause. This
Right.
one just says he safely or with impunity lideratur even by the lowest clerks, the lowest clergy.
Yeah,
I was reading it exactly the way Joanna did, meaning like without punishment, meaning he didn't punish them.
yeah. Let me see how Fontaine translates it. I didn't look at this yet. 26, where are we? 26:4. Oh, this is the commentary. Sorry. Sorry.
Hard to find. Oh, it's in the right.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the Latin. No, here's 26. Oh, yes, il se laissait outrager impunément, même par les derniers des clercs. So he let himself be outraged.
Without punishment.
He let himself be injured without punishment. So it's very clear in Fontaine that he takes it that it was because he allowed them to.
Yeah.
There's nothing in Lewis in Short that would suggest any meaning other than without punishment. Nothing like safely or without harm.
Right.
I found safely and without harm in the OLD.
That's so much harder to consult. That's a book.
I know. It's a pain in the neck.
It must be online. Is it online?
It's not.
Yes. No?
No.
The codex, that is so 5th century.
They're holding on. I think,
The OED is, yeah, but not the OLD. Yeah.
no, the OLD. It'll be online sooner or later, and they'll charge you a whole bunch of money for it, and it'll be free like Lewis and Short.
I got parts of the medieval Latin dictionary. I've been slowly collecting the volumes.
Oh wow!
And my boss has
Which one?
You mean the Anglo-Latin one?
I got about 6 of the ones. I think I've got 8, 10. Got 16, 14, 13, maybe 15. So all the latter parts of the alphabet.
Okay. Ducange is entirely online, which is actually pretty helpful.
And Niemeyer.
Is Niemeyer online?
Yeah.
Really? The old one or the new one?
Second edition, I think, or at least it's a fairly new one.
All right.
Maybe not
the second edition is a new one.
Well, maybe it's not the absolute newest one. And anyway, what did you find, Jen?
Meaning one without punishment or retribution, with impunity, in wider sense, without adverse consequences, safely, without harm. I do see it. I don't.
The great thing with the OLD is it lets you translate almost anything you want.
But why would we do it that way when even the etymology and the next sentence is explaining it?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think
Clear to the easiest.
it makes sense that the lower clergymen are not being punished.
Yeah, that he's letting them get away with it because he was so
Harmed by them,
terrible.
and they're not being punished.
Mhm.
Okay. I do not agree, but I will just go on. And nor, on account of this, did he ever dismiss them from their post
Mm-hmm.
or drive them away from his charity. In other words, stop loving them, insofar as it was in him to do so.
I think that
Makes it sounds like every once in a while he got just
Really, yeah.
super ticked off,
That's
but
it.
most of the time.
Mhm. Like on the days he was having a bad hair day.
well, or the days that all of that abstinence was really getting him down.
Right.
Just
Got to take it out on somebody. We've all been there.
Pass.
All right.
all right.
The passages they put in there to do seem to mean like safely without physical harm,
Mm-hmm.
not like, and their parallels. There's one from Livy and Ovid. So I take it back. It can mean that. I don't think it means it here, but it can clearly mean that.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, we've seen this was a passage where we had, the blacksmith slamming anvils, and we've seen a lot of other kind of,
Violent.
let's say, rough and ready Wild West kind of stuff. So I think it's certainly possible to read it the way I want to read it, and it's certainly possible to read it in a far less, physical way.
And you can see maybe the younger clerics maybe playing jokes on him or something, or just, doing things like tying his shoes together.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Let's make fun of the holy man.
So yeah, they did all this, but yet he never really hurt himself.
No. Okay, Paula, take it away.
Okay, well,
Take
I
it home,
can say I
Paul.
translated everything, but okay. Let's see. And just in case we were wondering why they might play tricks on him, this next part might explain it a little bit. Because apparently he didn't have much of a sense of humor. All right, let's see. Okay. So, this is a really long passage. Nemo unquam illum vidit iratum. Nemo commotum. Nemo merentem. Nemo ridentem. So, no man ever saw him angered. No one agitated. No one lamenting. No one laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Unus idemque fuit semper. And one thing, he was the same always.
Mm-hmm.
Or he was always one and the same.
One and the same
Right.
person.
Okay.
Eden.
Yeah. Okay. Caelestem quodamodo,
Mm-hmm.
laetitiam vultu preferens extra naturam hominis videbatur. He was seeing heaven or heaven's light in a certain way, with a wish preferring outside the nature of man.
He seemed, right, with a batur, passive or deponent. He seemed.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was seemed or if he was seeing or being seen.
Well, he could be. He was seen. He was seen as a man holding forth preferens a certain some kind of celestial happiness.
Okay.
Right, caelestem laetitiam, extra naturam hominis, beyond the nature of a human being.
Okay.
He has this
that certain celestial happiness.
celestial joy.
Mhm.
Vultu.
So he wasn't totally grumpy.
I think this is so interesting, thinking about our modern idea of how to best be human. Here in the West, we're talking about feeling our emotions and talking about them and letting them out. But then you have the Eastern traditions with, being Zen and having nothing perturb you, and Buddha and all that, which seems much more like him. I just find it interesting to think about the differences.
For reasons I've never quite understood, laughing is a big no-no in monastic life.
Yeah.
Yes.
But radiating happiness,
Serenity.
happiness is obviously a good thing.
Bingo, serenity.
Right.
Well, even through the 19th century, laughter was considered coarse.
Mhm.
And that's why I hate that film about Amadeus, because all of those quirky people behave so terribly, and they don't behave at all like they were taught.
Oh, and that god-awful laugh.
Yeah, they would never have. They would not. That was not okay. But what I was going to say,
my mother was so angry about that movie.
through the early 20th century, smiling on photos was considered bad form.
Right.
Yep.
Onward,
Yeah, I think there's kind of I think there's a tug of war between the old Roman values of basically your Stoic and perhaps more Germanic or even Celtic values of being a little more animated. And,
But the Stoics ones clearly seem to be followed here in the ideal monk.
well, he's trying to do his level best to do perfect classical Latin, so I think it's pretty safe to say that he's trying to follow Roman mores rather than the local ones. So
Or monastic ones in general, yeah.
yeah, well, monastic is definitely, later Benedictine is in Italy, so it kind of sums it up. Anywho, numquam in Ilius ora nisi Christus. Never was anything on his mouth or in his mouth except Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Numquam in Ilius corda nisi pietas, nisi pax, nisi misericordia inerat. Never was anything in his heart except piety, except peace, except mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Plerumque etiam pro eorum, qui ilius obstrectatores vide bantur. And also many things on account of those. What?
Well, you're going to need to keep going.
Okay.
The sentence isn't going to make sense with where you've cut it off.
Okay. Solebat flere peccatis, qui remotum et quietam, venenatis linguis et vipereo ora carpebant.
Yeah. So the trick is, and I know this guy made a note of so the pro at the beginning, plerumque etiam pro, is picked up by the peccatis way at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that the whole sentence kind of falls around that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So also many because of him, because of them, or on account of them?
That's why you need to go to the soul.
On account of the sins. Let me just help you out. So plerumque, for the most part, even on behalf of the peccatis, this really is strange word order for me. On behalf of the sins, eorum, of them.
Okay.
Ilius
those who were being seen to disparage him.
Right, who were seen to be his. And then you get the group.
I don't think it's that weird. Often or usually, he was accustomed to weep for the sins on the, on behalf of those who seem to be his detractors.
Yeah. Just the pro is separated way far away from Pekatis.
Eorum can't be the object of pro.
No, it's not. It's pro Pekatis eorum.
Pro Pekatis.
It's not pro Eorum. It has to be pro
Pro
Pekatis.
Oh, you're right. Oh, you're right.
That's why it can't be pro Eorum.
You're right.
Eis.
Okay, so solebat flera peccatis is he's weeping on behalf of the sins?
Exactly. He's weeping on behalf of the sins of those who seem to be his detractors.
Yeah,
So
and,
Flera is weeping? He was
if-
accustomed to weep?
He was accustomed to weep.
If pro,
Okay.
if pro goes with peccati, here's another reason why I'm going to say miserum me. Does not necessarily have to be an exclamatory accusative.
Okay. I'm just trying to get through the sentence. Because I think it's a really difficult sentence. One of those
It
sentences,
is.
I could
It is a
rewrite
challenge.
it in my word order and it would be very lucid Latin for us Americans, but
Mhm.
he obviously doesn't want to do it that way.
You kind of
No.
have to stop after the pro already.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not comprehensible. You know that after pro you need an ablative, so you're going to listen until
No,
you
wait.
No, but that's a
main
hard,
phrase, but it's an awful hyperbaton.
It's a long way.
It's a monastic discipline.
Okay.
It's a long way with a clause, with a full clause in between.
Okay. So
And the
anyway, so Poa, so then Qui
Okay,
picks up the obtractatores.
right.
Eorum.
So is the qui is the peccatis?
No, well, it's the
People.
Oh, the people. Okay.
It's the detractors.
Okay. So qui remotum et quietam. Oh, I already said this. When natis linguis et viperio ore carpebant. Who wore away his remoteness and tranquility.
Him.
Right. Him being remote and tranquil.
Yes.
He was minding his own business. Right.
Yeah. So they're wearing away at his they're harshing his mellow,
Right.
as the surfers say.
That's
with-
good.
Yeah, with poisonous tongues
Mhm.
and a viper's mouth.
Exactly.
Okay. And this is about where I got to.
Okay.
So, et vere non nullos experti sumus invidos virtutis vitaeque eos, qui in illo oderant, quod in se non videbant, et quod imitari non valebant. Okay. And truly, so Sumus, I'm not really sure what they're-
We've met, right? We've had experience.
Had experience.
We've
Yeah.
experienced non nullus. Some people
Okay,
who were in widows,
okay,
people who hated,
We're envious.
envious of his virtus and vitae,
okay, so of his virtuous life.
of his
Yeah.
virtue, well, and his life,
his life.
virtue and his life, qui in illo oderant, who
Hated.
Hated in illo,
were,
and then
who
you,
were
and then you
hating,
pick up quad.
Yeah, in Illo is kind of odd. Who hated him in that, hated in him that, it hated
That
what
which
was in him. Okay,
who
hated
hated
in him quad, that which.
yeah.
Mhm.
They did not see in him.
Well,
Instead,
they don't see and say in
in
themselves.
themselves.
They
Exactly.
they did not see in themselves. Oh, okay, because it's reflexive.
Mhm.
And that they could, or that they did not want to imitate.
We're not able to.
You were right the
Well,
first
yeah.
time. It's substituting for
Also,
What?
we're not able.
Right. They they weren't strong enough to. They weren't able to.
Okay.
So just I don't want to delay us here, but but this is kind of a cool psychological moment, right?
Mhm.
They hated him because they couldn't live up to his virtues, and they weren't like that, and they couldn't imitate him.
Mhm.
Which is cooler than just saying they hated him because they were evil, which I think, so much of classical literature isn't very psychologically rich.
Mhm.
I think this kind of is.
Yeah.
Well, isn't this the classic story of the sour grapes, though?
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm. They're
But
jealous.
sour grapes are about a thing, and not you. Sour grapes aren't, the sour grape story isn't about your own virtue.
Yeah.
Well, virtue's a thing.
Well, not in the story. Anyway, maybe there's a rich, interesting tradition. I mean, Tacitus has this thing about, it's human nature to hate what you've wronged, which I think is also slightly interesting psychologically. But
At least because of what Tacitus writes about the British, yeah.
Tacitus is the only classical prose writer I've ever seen who's psychological.
right.
That's why he's so great.
Oh, I think Virgil is. Oh, prose, you were saying prose.
I said
Yeah, Virgil's got a lot of good stuff in that
Yeah,
sense.
but he's poetry.
Let's not go there either, class. Let's move.
Paula,
I'm gonna power us forward.
Paula, we don't want to put you on the spot. Should we
Uh-huh.
maybe trade sentences around to the end of the passage?
If you want to.
Okay, how about
It's a pretty long passage. It's like 26 lines. What?
lightning unseen translation round to wrap up the summer?
Oh,
Okay.
my.
Paula.
I think I can
No,
I
sorry.
do the next sentence.
Okay, do the next sentence.
Okay. All right, let's see. Atque o nefas dolendum et ingemescendum. And also, O sins most lamented and what is the word?
Be grieved.
To be grieved over, yes.
Right. Oh, nephos. Oh, wickedness.
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 I did sins, but okay, yeah, wickedness,
Grieved
yeah.
over and groaned over, right?
Mhm.
Yes, there's a lot of, it's onomatopoeic, sort of.
Mm.
Non alii fere insectatores eius.
Frank has a note on this. Not none other than.
Then, okay.
Mhm.
And fere is kind of like none other almost than the, or none other
Insects?
than the sort of the detractors or the persecutors.
Okay. I was trying to look up the word and I was like, I can't find it.
Yeah, fairy is one of those places where it's marking a metaphor
Mhm.
because it's Latin does not like unmarked.
Right. It's sort of apologizing for the word insectator, I think. Is that right? So none other than these kind of persecutors of his.
Mm-hmm.
And then licet, even though ad modum pauci, even though there aren't very many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Not, and then it repeats itself. None other than these persecutors. However, I'm blank. They were said to be none other than bishops. Right, so that it's kind of climactic. It's kind of holding you in suspense. Like, what's going to be none other? They're none other. There weren't very many of them, but they were none other. Apparently, they were said to have been bishops. These persecutors. It's fairly dramatic, right? That he could be persecuted by these bishops.
So licet pauci ad modum non alii tamen quam episcopi fere bantor. So basically what they're saying is that there weren't a whole lot of them, but they were high ranking.
Yeah.
Right.
The licet connects to the tamen. Although they were rather few,
Right.
still
Yeah,
the
but the
ones that
laws,
they were bishops.
They were bishops.
Mhm. Yeah, so they were more dangerous than if they had been, say, postulants or
Right.
Or those
laymen.
lowly clerics who
Right, exactly.
wounded him in Pune.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Okay, lightning round. Mona, 4.
I'll do the next part.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
To number 4.
Okay.
Can I-
Sure. Go ahead.
Me? Okay.
Yep.
Let me just turn this down a little bit. nec vero quemquam nominari neces est, licet nos met ipsos plerique circum latrent. Doesn't that mean bark around?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, according to the note, yes.
But it is not necessary to name anyone. Although many are barking around me, myself, us ourselves, are still attacking us, I guess. Sufficiat ut, si qui ex his, haec ligerit, et agnoverit, eru bescat. Let it be enough that if anyone, so this is si ali, if anyone, si ali qui, well, wait, but it's plural. If anyone of these will read these things and recognize them, he will blush.
Mm-hmm.
Should blush, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Let it be sufficient that he should blush.
the moods are the other way around. Sufficiat's future. It will be.
It will be sufficient, right?
That
Yes, thank you.
If
It will be sufficient that he shall blush. He should blush. For nam si irascitur de se dictum fatebitur cum fortasse nos de aliis senserimus. For if he gets enraged, he will be saying this to have been said about him
Mm-hmm.
when perhaps we were talking about other people. So, wow. That's crazy.
If the shoe fits, wear it, right?
What?
Isn't it if the shoe fits, wear it? You know,
Yeah.
Well, they'll be revealing themselves. What is that story? Well, where you reveal yourself unwittingly.
An expression from a wholly different context. If you spot it, you got it.
Okay. Volunteer. Mona, you ready?
Okay, sure, I'll do 5. Sentence 5. Non refugimus autem, ut si qui eos modi sunt, nos quoque cum tali viro oderent. Oderent.
Sorry.
However,
Mm-hmm.
I do not shrink or retreat, so that they who are of this sort may hate us, along with such a man, meaning Martin.
Mm-hmm. Good. Bruce.
Illud facile confido, omnibus sanctis opusculum istum gratum fore. De cetera. Si qui haec infidelite legeret, ipse peccabit.
Oh.
And I readily rely on this. This
Have faith in this. I trust in it.
I have faith in. I readily trust in this. I have faith in this. That this little work, this little book, will be welcome to all holy people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Furthermore,
that's where Francesi has a note that the istud there has to mean mine.
Oh, right. This my book. Yeah. This my little book. Yeah. Furthermore, if anyone should read these words faithlessly, without faith, he will sin.
He will be sinning.
Yes. I feel terrible. Jen, bring it on home.
All right. Ego mihi consciusum me, rerum fide et amore Christi impulsum ut scriberem, manifesta ex posuisse, vera dixisse. What do you do there? I am aware, for my part, that driven by my faith in things and my love of Christ to write, that I have laid out clear things, that I have said true things.
Great.
Para tunque ut spero habebit adeo praemium, non quicumque legeret, sed quicumque credideret. And that person will have a reward prepared by God, not whoever will have read, but whoever will have believed.
Wow, the last word.
Great, right, exactly. Credideret. Isn't that great?
Of course he was going to go for that, yeah.
Future perfect credo.
The junction of elegant Latin and faith.
Yep. Well, guys, it's been
we
great.
did it. It sure has.
Done it.
I'm, as you know, I'm snarky and sarcastic and ironic, and I'll put it away. What a colossal
I know.
pleasure and education this has been. Thank you all.
Oh, it's just been great.
Very much.
Everybody, thank you. Yes.
And you know, I'm going to teach this text in my last semester at Pitt in the spring.
Oh, you can just
teach this and the guest of
just play them the videos and leave. Right?
I could do that.
Yeah.
I could do the whole,
lazy.
the whole blasted thing through the videos.
That's right.
And we got the guest of Francorum too.
That's right. Everything.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, good night, everybody, and thanks. If anyone's in Philadelphia, let me know. You can talk.
If you're in Ann Arbor, stop on up.
So,
If you're in Ann Arbor, come on up.
can I go hiking with you in Germany?
Yes, you can. Anybody can.
When are we going? The middle of
Middle